is Ed Robertson, and this is the Mountain and Prairie Podcast, where I introduce you to some of the innovative and creative individuals who are shaping the future of the American West. I meet most of these people through my work in ranch brokerage and land conservation, or through my hobbies and interests that revolve around spending time up high in the mountains. My guests include ranchers, writers, entrepreneurs, conservationists, athletes, artists, adventurers, pretty much anyone who's doing important work and has an interesting story to tell. My guest today is Justin Simoni. Justin is an ultra-endurance adventurer who is most well known for his self-powered long-distance tours that combine cycling, mountain running, and climbing. He's currently preparing for the highest 100, in which he'll climb Colorado's 100 highest peaks, accessing them all by bike in 60 days or less. If he pulls it off, and I'm betting that he will, it'll be the first time anyone has linked all of these peaks by bike in a completely self-supported style. If you assume that Justin has been a hardcore cyclist for most of his life, you'd be wrong. He studied painting in college and worked full-time as a professional artist for years, living in an art gallery in downtown Denver. Frustrated with a car that kept breaking down, Justin purchased a bike and began to ride it for his primary transportation. As his rides became longer and longer, he enjoyed it more and more, and pretty soon he was completely committed to long-distance cycling. What followed was a barrage of impressive solo ultra-distance adventures. Cycling the Pacific Coast, racing the Tour Divide mountain bike race twice, and the Tour 14er, which involves cycling to all 58 of Colorado's 14,000-foot mountains and climbing them in just 34 days. Thanks to his athletic accomplishments, artistic perspective, hilarious sense of humor, and infectious enthusiasm, Justin is truly one of a kind. We had a fun and funny conversation that covered a wide range of topics, from his athletic achievements to his time as a professional artist. We chatted about some of the techniques that he uses to stay upbeat during periods of extreme fatigue or fear, and we discuss how he balances his freewheeling artist mentality with the monk-like discipline required to pull off such serious adventures. As usual, we discuss favorite books, films, and Justin shares the best piece of advice he's ever received. Thanks to Justin for taking the time to chat during such a hectic time of planning and training. This was a really fun conversation, so I hope you enjoy. Meet somebody for the first time, never met them, and they say, "What do you do?" How do you answer that?
Oh gosh, that's such a loaded question.
It is.
Because it's not the career I want to tell people, because I don't think my career is very interesting or what I do for a job. But I usually go with this big wall climber, Andy Kirkpatrick's answer, and he tells people, he's like, "I'm an assassin." And it's just kind of funny because it puts the person like way off their balance point. And it worked for him until he actually met an assassin and had to have a conversation and play it straight. It's like, after a while he's like, I'm not really an assassin. But I guess he just didn't want people to know that, he made a living as a big wall climber, because it kind of gives you an idea that might not be realistic of what your actual life is, because your daily life is full of boring things. When I was in school as a painting major, my best friend and I would go to parties, and again, it's like, oh, you're an artist. So you don't tell people you're an artist. You go, oh, I'm a plumber, just so they just don't think something of you without actually knowing you.
Sure.
So I don't know what I just tell people I like riding bikes, I guess.
Yeah.
As for my passions, if you ask me what my passions are, that's a much easier question to answer. So that would be another one of my go-tos. So I like riding bikes for transportation. I like hiking and running up mountains, and I like rock climbing, basically.
So the way I came across you was through all that, through
Sure.
your ultra endurance, climbing, biking, and the deeper I dug, the more I found, like with anybody, but especially with you, there's so many different cool layers the more you dig down.
Sure.
And so I was trying to think about the best way to structure the conversation that made sense. And so I think probably the best way to do it is tell me about your upcoming project, the highest 100, and then we'll kind of dig down from there.
Okay. We'll figure out where I am now and how I got there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tour of the highest 100 is a bike packing tour around Colorado. It's going to take about 2 months, and the objective is to visit the trailheads for the highest 100 peaks in Colorado. The list is called the Centennials, and get off the bike, leave the bike at the trailhead, and then basically summit the mountain by foot. and then come back down and go to the next mountain.
Has anybody ever done that by bike before in one single push?
There has been one gentleman that I can find in Colorado history that's done it. He did it with full support, so there was a car following him.
Yeah,
and he did it in around, I think, 74 days or so. It was really, it was extremely amazing. I thought it was really incredible. It was just last year, and I was kind of injured, so I was kind of on the sidelines going, yay. But I really just wanted to be out there with him and do it as well. So this will be the first time that's done in kind of a self-supported style. Mm-hmm. So instead of having a support car follow me, I'll just have everything I need with me. So sleep system, food, all the clothing I need. I'm my own navigational person, things like that. So if there's movement, I'm doing it.
So you roll out a boulder on your bike, go and do it?
Yep.
And what is the time? I know you have a time goal, correct?
I've given myself the limit of 60 days. Wow. It's just an estimate. It's not even back of the envelope. It just sounded good.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Gotta start somewhere.
Math is not my strong point. I'm just like, whatever, 60. Yeah. But the problem with doing anything in Colorado for long term is that we have just so long of a summer. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of hit a cutoff point, or like you're basically going to get snowed on.
Sure.
So our season is really, our season is really short until winter comes. So it's just a really good thing to have as inspiration. Like, oh man, I have to finish by September 14th or whatever. So.
Sure. So for most people, climbing all the 14ers, driving the trailhead, doing it is a lifetime goal.
Sure.
And so how did you get to the point where not only are you going to do the 58 14ers, but you're going to do an additional,
sure,
what is that, 42 on top of that?
Sure.
How did you get at this point?
Well, like most people in Colorado, like one of the goals is to climb a 14er, if not 14ers. And I caught that bug just like a lot of people do. I don't own a car. Mm-hmm. So I kind of was like, well, I'd like to do them all, like all 58. How will I do that? And without buying a car, because that seemed like a major investment just to go walking. If it takes all day to do Longs Peak from Boulder, or it takes 2 days. It's 40 miles there, then you got to hike 13 miles, then you got 40-mile bike ride back. And that's the closest 14er.
Sure.
So everything else is going to be multi-day to get there, do the climb, come back. So you do the math in your head and like, it will take me by bike if I do these in like day-long trips or week-long trips, years and years. Like, sure. It's almost like it's infinitely long. It doesn't make sense unless I do it all in one trip. So I'm like, okay, how long is that going to take? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, get out the map, and like plan a route and be like, well, and also do research and be like, who else has done this? How long did they take? So, in like the winter of 2014, that's kind of what I did. It's like, how realistic is this? Mm-hmm. Who's done it? How did they do it? How can I do it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So in 2015, I guess you did all the 58 by bike, correct?
In 2014, I did.
2014.
So yeah, okay, in 2014, I did the 14er. So it's just a nice ring to it.
Got it. Yeah. And that took you what, like 34 days?
It took me 34 days and 12 hours.
God, that's just amazing. I mean, that's how I initially first heard about you on the Ultimate Direction blog after you had done that.
Yep.
And so you had been riding bikes, obviously, leading up to that. I know you've done the Tour Divide before, which is an awesome mountain bike race. When did you have you been riding bikes your whole life, or did you start?
No. As a child, like many people, I rode bikes.
Yep.
And I was like one of these children that was like free. I was a free range child. Mm-hmm. So like my parents wouldn't see me until dinner time.
Yeah.
And like, I'd come back with like a missing shoe or no shirt, and they'd like kind of ask, but like, they're like, well, you're alive, so whatever. And like, it's like, they were cool with it. So I would ride bikes like long distance just because it was fun, or like with my friends. But when I was growing up, I was really into skateboarding and a little bit of rock climbing. And when I moved to college, I just did college. And
where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called Wethersfield, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I actually grew up in Old Wethersfield. So it felt like a kind of a colonial museum.
Sure.
So I lived on Church Street.
I lived on Church Street as a kid.
Oh, it was totally a white picket fence, picturesque.
Sure.
It was a great place for a young child to grow up in. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there was like the local pizza place, and there was the ice cream parlor, and the creepy cemetery, and like the forested area, and the community garden. So it felt like a very just safe place to grow up. But when I got older, it just became a very boring place to live. So I was like, I gotta probably get out of here.
So you set your sights on Boulder for college, is that right?
Yeah, basically. In high school, I would visit my brother who lived in Breckenridge.
Okay.
He moved out here when I was 12 or so. So, yeah. And I kind of fell in love with the area.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's like really beautiful. And I can't think of anything more contrasting to Connecticut than Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, Connecticut's
the same thing. I'm from East North Carolina. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Connecticut's small. There's no national forest. There's no national parks. It's all built up. And then you come to Colorado and you're like, what's over there? And you're like, it's nothing. It's a bunch of mountains. You're like, what do you mean? He's like, you have to walk into it. You're like, wow. So yeah, he had his house was like on the base of Buffalo Mountain. You know, you look north, there's just the Gore Range. You're like, that's kind of cool. So we kind of hatched a plan how I could, get into college and moved here. And it was basically like do well in school and apply to all the state colleges. So that was the plan, basically.
So you came out and so did you start riding bikes in college or even farther after that?
No, man. I skateboarded. I was really into skateboarding and skateboarding advocacy.
Yep.
Wanting to get public skate parks into towns for something for kids to do.
Yep.
Where I grew up in Connecticut, there was just nothing for a teenage kid to do. So I skateboarded, but it was like something that was kind of annoying for shop owners and stuff.
Sure.
So I'm like, how about give me a public skate park to play in? And it wasn't really into it until skateboarding kind of blew up in popularity. Mm-hmm. So if I go back to my hometown now, there's a skate park. Oh, nice. It's just crazy. I visited one time. I was like, wow, there it is. The little bit of me is like right in there. That's cool.
That's cool.
So I was just kind of into skating and just punk rock music and things like that. And it wasn't until I moved. It's not until I graduated college and moved basically right downtown Denver.
Okay. That
I started riding bikes. I lived in an art gallery, maybe a block away from Coors Field.
Yep.
So very congested, right in the middle of town. And I had a really shitty car, and it would just continually break down and get broken into. Uh-huh. And I got really sick of this because I bought it for like $800, and I already put like more than $800 into it. I'm like, this is a dumb situation. It's just a money pit. Why don't I just get a bicycle?
Sure.
I can ride to the store. Everything I want to do is within riding distance. Yeah. Let's do it. Save a ton of money. So that's what I did. And that's how I started riding bicycles as an adult.
Got it.
And it kind of just blossomed from there. I realized I like just riding bicycles as a kind of a hobby. Uh-huh. And the longer I rode the bicycle, the happier I was. Sure. Like it was an accomplishment. Like I remember the first time I rode from Denver to Boulder. It took like 6.5 hours. I was like, I did it. I remember I got to Table Mesa and Broadway, and I like sat down on a bench, and I like instantly cramped up because like my body was just not ready for that.
Yeah.
And I had to take the bus home, and like I immediately got off the bus and ordered like a large pizza, at, like the pizza place across the street. And I was just like, eat the whole thing. I was like, that was amazing. Couldn't walk for 3 days. But I was like, I gotta do that again. And yeah, it just kind of blew up from there. But within a year from that, I had cobbled together a touring bike off parts from Craigslist, and I was flying to Canada and to start the Pacific Coast tour. So I started in Vancouver and just went south, basically following Highway 1 to Tijuana.
Wow.
Yeah, just went for it.
That was a year in, pretty much.
Yeah, it caught me pretty big. Well, I had all this money all of a sudden because I didn't have car payments or insurance payments. I didn't have to pay for gas. I wasn't, replacing broken windshields and car radios and stuff. So I'm like, I should just take 5 weeks and do this.
What was the biggest surprise during that trip that you weren't something you weren't expecting?
Biggest surprise? Geez. I think when you're younger, it's really fun. Especially, I was living in the city, and it was just really fun to live fast.
Sure.
But on a bicycle, especially a loaded down bicycle, you go really slow.
Yes.
So life is passing you by at 10 miles an hour if you're lucky. And like maybe it was just kind of enjoyable. Just was a very enjoyable experience to be in that sort of mindset.
Yeah, I bet so.
And I mean, I don't know why I got into bike touring when I think about it, because it just seems like something you do. Like it seemed like an old person activity to me. Like, oh yeah, you get on a bike and you just pedal around the countryside. Like, well, that's so lame. Like, let's go out and party. So I didn't understand why, but all of a sudden I realized like at 20 something, I was like an old man already. I'm like, all right, I'm into this.
And so you got back from that. You've been bitten by the bug, obviously, and then you heard about the Tour Divide, I'm guessing.
Yeah, a couple.
Can you explain that race first of all to folks who don't know about it?
Yeah, it just started. This year's version just started last Friday.
Oh, nice.
And it's a mountain bike race. It starts in Banff, Alberta, and goes to the Mexican border, like just outside of Silver City.
Yep.
And it's nothing but gravel roads that kind of crisscross the Rocky Mountains, and you go over the Continental Divide like 36 times or something.
Wow.
And it's just a patchwork of country roads, gravel roads, a little bit of four-wheel drive tracks, things like that.
There's a great documentary I'll put a link to on the webpage. I guess it's just called Tour Divide, maybe.
I think it's called Ride to the Divide.
Yes, that's right. And it's a great overview.
Sure.
Of that.
Yeah.
So you signed up for that. And what was your goal there of trying? Like, what was? Did you have any idea how long it'd take you?
Oh no! I mean, I wasn't riding mountain bikes.
Sure.
Like, I learned about the race from this guy named Fixie Dave Nice, and he worked at the local bike shop I started going to. And at the time, it was probably like the bike shop was as big as your living room. Like it was small. There's like 20 bikes fit in there. And the guy just comes up to me. He's like, "Hi, my name's Dave Nice. I race fixed geared mountain bikes cross country." And like I was there to get like a blinky light, and I was like, I don't really understand what that sentence means. I'm kind of blown away. That's the most like that's ridiculous. So I was like, but it kind of like stuck to me. I'm like, there's a mountain bike race across the country, and this guy does it. I'm like, that's so cool. So it was in the back of my mind when I was like touring on my road bike or whatever. So yeah, one day I was like, I'm doing it. Like, let's do it. If Dave can do it, I can try to do it. So.
And did you do it on a fixed gear bike?
No. I had that 30-speed bike to start off with.
Yeah.
It was like my first mountain bike. You know, it's like my first new bike as an adult. And that was like 2011. And yeah, I trained my heart out for that one. Like I was on the trainer indoors, you know, like actual training instead of just taking ridiculous bike rides that went nowhere.
Sure.
And just towed the line for 2011 as my first mountain bike race. Like, I'm here, we're doing this. I knew how to like, you know, survive across the country on a bike. So I'm like, all right, the only thing's different is 1, this is off-road, 2, it's on a mountain bike. And like 3, like the gear is pared down to the minimum.
Yep.
I'm like, we'll do it. Let's see what happens.
And how did it end up?
Well, so by the first day, so this was 2011, and for some reason, like the snowfall that year was it was epic. You know, it was like one of those 1 in 500 years of snowfall. So the course itself was unrideable. Basically, all the mountain passes were snowed in. You couldn't ride them. So the organizers basically were like, all right, we have to do these major detours. So instead of taking the mountain passes, you have to take the highway, go around the mountain. I was thinking, that's stupid. I'm like, I signed up for the real deal, you know, the real meal deal. I'm like, I'm doing it. So I like brought snowshoes with me and poles, and I was like, if I can't ride it, I'm just going to walk it.
Did anybody else choose to do that?
No.
You were the only one?
I was like in the last town, like before the detours in like Sparwood, British Columbia. And I'm trying to rally people. I'm like, let's just do one section, see what it's like. Come on, let's do this. It's going to be great, you know? And like you can see in the distance, like snow at 6,000 feet. Like everyone's like, no way. You're nuts. I'm like, probably.
Yes. Correct.
But I trained so much for this race. Like it's the first time I like took hours and hours and hours to train for something. I'm like, this is what I signed up for. I'm like, I don't have anything I need to do. I don't have to go back for anything. Sure. Work's not waiting for me. I work for myself. I can get back to work whenever I want.
Sure.
So like day number 2, I'm like, you know, in the middle of like, you know, the Canadian wilderness, you know, like trudging up this snowy pass, like, and there's nothing but me and like bear tracks. I'm like, all right, here we go. And no one can come in because like it's too the snow was too soft to like cross country ski or take a snowmobile, and definitely too deep for like a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So like it was just me. I didn't see anybody out there. I was just like, oh, this is rad. I just brought like 3 days worth of food and just like would go, instead of 10 miles an hour, I would go 1. Wow. Just like, push the bike, take 2 steps. Push the bike, take 2 steps. But it was just beautiful out there. So
what do you think attracts you to that? Because obviously everybody who signs up for that race is hardcore. I mean, that,
yes.
I love doing all this endurance stuff, but that is outside of my realm of what is, that's really hardcore stuff. And so why do you think you're able to take it that one step further and you enjoy pushing it at a level where even these other hardcore people don't want to go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just perspective to me. Like, a hardcore race for me is the 100 meters. Mm-hmm. Like, I have no way am I ever going to toe the line for 100 meters. Like that's fast. Like, that sounds painful. That's just, like, the training for that was just ridiculous. Like, that's who I'm like, you are hardcore, 100 meter. It's like, what I do is, like, it's enjoyable to me. Uh-huh. Just that the length is almost what's comfortable. Like if someone wants to like challenge me to a race, I'll be like, okay, let's go to Montana. Yeah. Like any way you want, let's do it. And like people be like, I'm not doing that. I'll be like, come on, it'll be fun. It'll take 5 days. Let's do it.
Do you think that positive attitude is part of why you're able to do it? I mean, obviously you do enjoy it, but I would think, some people seem to, in like the ultra world, you'll see people go into these events and they love to talk about how painful it is and how it hurts, and they go in this dark place. Whereas what I'm hearing you say is this is awesome. This is fun. And I would guess physically you're probably feeling about the same thing as everybody else when you're pushing yourself hard, but you've got this positive outlook on it versus this sucks. This is so hard. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to like Alex Honnold is in the news these days because he just soloed El Capitan, which is incredible. And there was a news story about how his brain was rewired in a way where he didn't feel fear the same way that a normal person would. And I've always like kind of like identified with that. It's like it's not that I don't feel fear the same way. It's I don't feel fatigue the same way, perhaps. And it's just I just expect it. Sure. Like, I'm 1,000 miles into a cross-country mountain bike race. I feel really tired. Yeah. It's like, well, that's to be expected. Like, obviously, look what I just did. That's a positive sign instead of a negative sign. So, I've never towed the line in a race where I'm like, God, I'm really tired. What's wrong with me? Or like, oh, this sucks. It's like, no, I mean, this is what I signed up for. Yeah. It's like, all right, we're halfway through the race. Or all right. I mean, I think the hardest part of a race is like 6 miles out where you're like, oh my God. Like, we can get through this, but it's like, it's that last 6 miles. So I think there's definitely strategies I use.
What are a few of those?
Trick yourself, totally lie to yourself. So if say I need to get to a town that's 20 miles away, I have no food, I have little water. Yeah. You just go to yourself, you're like, all right, it's 20 miles away, brain, body. It's like, let's do it. Let's rally the troops. And then 5 miles later, you go, it's 20 miles away. Yeah. And your brain just goes, well, you just told us it was 20 miles away 5 miles ago. Why is it now 20? It's like, oh, I made a mistake. And you're like, all right. And just do that for 10 and 5. And as soon as like you get to 3, you can see the lights of the town. And your body goes, look, dude, the town's right there. Be like, oh, you're right. We're almost there. And all of a sudden, that last 3 miles is nothing. It's like, oh, we're basically there. So kind of trick yourself, like, kind of like it's probably a wives' tale at this point, but Columbus used to do that when he was like going across the Atlantic, because his people on his boat were like, we're not into this, we don't want to do this. Yeah. And he would say that their mileage is way less than it was, so they didn't know they were as far away from their home port, kind of thing. So when they got there, he's like, oh, just made a mistake, look, we're like way far out. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So, are there any others you have? I'm really always interested in that.
Strategies?
Yeah, strategies if things ever start to prevent things from going downhill.
Yeah. Like, the only time I've ever stopped in sort of like an ultra distance thing is when I was sick. Like one of the local little challenges, like the Skyline Traverse. Yes. We do the 5 local peaks. And I started the first one, like Sanitas. And like you feel like, you're like, I don't know if I'm feeling really good. And you're like, give it 5 minutes. Maybe it's a little jitters from just starting off because it's a little like, you got to go way, it's 20 miles, whatever.
Sure.
But like at the end of sneeze, you're like, I really don't feel good. And it's like, you know what? I'm sick. This is why I don't feel good. But like, I don't know, give yourself time to be like, is the feeling I have malady or is it just nerves?
Yeah.
Or am I injured or something like that? So if it's not injured or sickness, like keep going.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not going to feel worse. Or, I mean,
you're not always going
to feel odds. Yeah, the odds are you're going to feel worse, but it's not going to be that bad. Or just anticipating something really great. Like I anticipate the summit or a pass, the top of a pass, or the downhill, or even the climb. So each little part, like it's something to look forward to.
Sure.
Because they're just different sensations.
Yep.
And, variety is really nice. So you're like, all right, I get to, like a climb can be like, all right, I get to just walk this or power hike this. Sure. Or the run down, you're like, all right, I can just like let loose. This is going to be great. I love this part. So
one of the things that I find really impressive about what you do is that it's all stuff that's created by you. Like you did the Tour Divide, that was an event, but
sure.
You did it your way within that event. When they made it easier, you said, no, I want to do it the other way. And then a lot of the other stuff, like the Tour of the 14ers a few years ago, that was invented by you. This upcoming Highest 100 is invented by you. And then that reminds me of one that I saw that you recently did when you Everested Green.
Sure.
Can you explain that? I thought that was super cool.
Oh, sure. So I wanted a birthday challenge to mark my descent into old age. And I was like, I had $20 or something. And I was like, what can I do for $20? Like, I'm like, I can't really take a plane trip to something. I can't go to like, McKinley right this or Denali right this second, or like, do some sort of crazy volcano on the northwest. I'm like, why don't I just stick in town? I'm like, all right, what can I do on Green Mountain that's kind of wild? I'm like, like the Everest season was kind of starting up where you hear news on all the teams, doing their Everest push. I'm like, all right, that could be cool. I'm like, how many times do we have to go up and down Green Mountain to match the elevation gain of how high Everest is? So it's 29,029 feet. And like Green Mountain's like something like the summit from the trailhead is something like 2,300. Uh-huh. So I'm like, all right, well, that's 13 times. I'm like, God, that's a lot of times. I'm like, can I do it? I'm like, well, if I give myself a couple days, sure, why not? It's just, you just have to put in the miles. I'm like, well, let's do it. Let's find out. So, it was kind of a spur of the moment. I was just kind of feeling bad for myself or sorry for myself on a Sunday because I was going to do something cool that weekend, but I decided not to for whatever reason. Like the snowpacks wasn't good or whatever. And I was like, all right, Tuesday we're out. We're going to do it. So, a couple more rest days. And I just, I wrote a quick email to the local trail running group. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Please join along. It'd be great to see you. Leave some baked goods. I love pastry, basically. And yeah, I got up at 4 and by 5 I was on the trail.
And so how long did it end up taking you?
About 26 hours.
Wow.
So again, I'm really bad at estimating what it takes for my time, but I just didn't know. I can do a lap of green in less than an hour.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm like, what about 13? Because you're gonna slow down after that first one,
Sure.
And I'm like, all right, well, I know enough that like if you want to go the distance, you have to do that all day pace, which is not destroying your knees basically. So I'm like, all right, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 per lap. I'm like, that sounds a little bit more, what I do in wintertime at night when there's a bunch of snow on, and I just want to get some elevation in my legs. So yeah, I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, it was really fun. It was a lot of surprises happening in that one. I was really sure I was just going to get really bored.
Really?
Because it's an out and back. So you see this, I was going to see the same trail.
Were you going up Amphitheater Green Man and then down the same way?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's the same trail 26 times, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is going to be torture. Like there's just not enough visual input. I'm just going to say the same thing and just be like, I want to just kill myself. This is crazy. What am I doing? But the big surprise is that never happened.
Really?
I was so excited to be like, there's that rock again. It's got that green thing on it. Like, there's that tree that's all wacky, I was like, all right, the final switchbacks. You're like, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the summit block again.
There's something about getting to know a place that well. I've found that with green. I mean, obviously I've never done it that many times in a row, but that's kind of my go-to mountain.
Sure.
And there's just something neat about when you're hiking up the trail and you say, I can't step on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's
That's
loose,
gonna move.
It bounces. But this one is solid.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a really neat deal to know something that way.
There's total the cult of Green Mountain for sure, and everyone knows these little things. Like I was doing a lap with my buddy Eli, and he's like, "I've got a name for this area." I'm like, "What is it?" He's like, "It's the trees." He's like, "I know that's weird because it's all forested, but this is to me the trees." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool," because I call it something different. He's like, "What do you call it?" I'm like, I call it Saddle Rock because, like, I don't know if this is where Saddle Rock is, but it's where I think it is. So there's that little inflection. And, like, you know, when you're, like, going for a sub-hour on Green Mountain, you kind of use those as little check marks so you can check your time.
When you do sub-hour there, how long does it take you to get at the top?
Or like 37 minutes.
God, that's fast.
And then you just plow down. So you go up Amphi Green, and then you go down Ranger Gregory. That's how I do it for a sub-hour.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go down and back, it's a lot shorter, but yeah.
That's really fast.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. Yeah.
I'm not even close to that, and I do it a lot.
It's not like Sage Kennedy fast or Anton fast or anything, but it's fast for me.
No, that's fast. There's no way around it. I mean, I do that thing a lot. I'm not even close.
So like if I'm getting to a race and I want to like check my fitness, I'll just like do that. And if I can get a sub-hour, I feel really great about myself, you know.
So the way you invent these challenges, you should feel good about that. That's no joke. The way you invent these challenges for yourself and follow through. Have you always been like that ever since you were a kid? Because I know you're a very talented artist, which I want to talk about.
Sure.
I mean, would you do similar things for art? Like I'm gonna create for this many hours a day.
Sure. So in art, there's like if you're putting together a solo show, so you have to have multiple pieces. Mm-hmm. It's a year-long project. Let's say. Part of that is writing an artist statement, saying, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, this is why I'm doing it. Yeah. And then you follow through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, all these projects are just art projects for me. It's framed the same way in my mind.
That's what I was going to ask, if there's some parallel between the way your artist mindset and this athletic mindset, because they both seem to be extremely creative.
Sure.
And then another kind of follow-up question I was thinking about is a lot of people think of artists as being kind of free flow all over the place, do strike when inspired. But I've talked to a lot of artists actually on this podcast, and a lot of them are very, very disciplined in their practice.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like you were that way with art, and you're very disciplined with your training for this. So how do you balance those two, kind of the artist, kind of free flow mentality with the hardcore discipline it takes to be good?
I think even in like a creative pursuit, there's homework, there's footwork being done. Mm-hmm. So it's all the boring stuff you'd never see, right? You just see the crazy stuff on the walls, you see the crazy installation, you see this like bubbly personality that's off the wall kind of thing, but you don't see the footwork, like doing the work, staying up all night for multiple nights in a row kind of thing. So there's homework for anything. So, I mean, right now I'm just doing all the homework on the map, like how am I going to get across the state and do all these things. But people won't see that. They won't see me, 3 a.m, with my Google Maps on, trying to like see what the most optimized route is. They'll just see on Instagram this grinning, bearded, extremely dirty dude on a bike, just like I am living life kind of thing. So, discipline. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I
guess the discipline, it comes back to that what we were talking about when you're tired, do you say, this sucks, or is this fun? And, the part of the training and the discipline, you can look at it as this is a pain in the ass, I don't like it, or you can look at it as this is awesome and it's allowing me to accomplish these goals. Yeah,
like I think in school, my best friend in school, we did our fair share of partying, basically. I mean, you're like a painting major, so it's like if you're not drinking heavily constantly, you're not really doing it right. But I was always impressed that I would come to school on a Saturday, after regular hours, and he'd already be there.
Really,
he'd probably be drunk, but he'd be painting.
Yeah,
he had the discipline to stick with it. And it really, I was like, man, if I want to succeed in this career too, or this at least major, I have to be as disciplined. So it doesn't matter what's kind of in your way. You have to continue to do it.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's kind of like is it Malcolm Gladwell, the mythical 10,000 hours? Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and there's some validity into it, but you have to put the put the time in. You know, I didn't magically wake up and you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to do a couple 14ers today. It's like, well, I'm going to ride a bike for years on end and work up from like a month tour to 2 month tour to like.
Well, that's what I think people would be tempted when they hear, oh, this guy didn't start riding bikes until his mid to late 20s. You know, he's just extremely gifted. But they don't understand that you're cranking out, 20, 30 hours a week? Training your ass off?
It comes up to around 30 hours a week. And no, I do not know where I find the time.
Yeah.
Living simply, you know, I don't have that much. So I just enjoy just being out there and doing it. That's kind of my possessions or my memories kind of thing.
How much is art a part of your life now?
You know, other than framing like these kinds of projects as art projects, it's a little minimal. My biggest artistic or creative outlet it's going to be writing afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. Like, sometimes I think I do these projects just so I have a narrative to share afterwards. Like, hopefully I'll be successful this summer and then I'll be able to share my experiences.
Yes.
If it's, during a presentation or writing a book or just a blog post, something, hopefully all of them. But afterwards, I'd like to probably, you know, kind of on my quote unquote off season, take a little break and get back into drawing, get back into making music, things like that.
So whenever I do one of these, you know, whether it's a one-day race or a multi-week trip, when I come back, I always feel like I'm a little bit different than I was when I left.
Sure.
Could you have any examples of that? How you feel like in the big picture, how are you different now than you were when you did that first bike ride to Boulder?
Oh, sure.
Years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's these big projects it's mostly culture shock. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can have anything I want at any time I want. This is nuts. I've been living in a bag on the dirt for 2 months. Like, this is crazy. But I think it's just, you know, you slow down, you appreciate what's around you. You look forward to simple things like eating and sleeping. And, so when you come back, you're not in constant movement.
Yep.
And it takes your body a little time to adjust. And that can be kind of difficult. Sometimes I have huge anxiety dreams after I come back. Because I don't have anxiety during the trip, but it might come back in a strange way. Like, I forgot a mountain or something. I have to come back and I have to get up right now and do it. And it's just all those like little fears I've been suppressing that come out in strange and weird ways. But I'm not scared of having, say, an anxiety attack because I have enough distance from the attack that I realize why I'm having it. It's just my brain kind of hiccuping. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I can enjoy having an anxiety attack, basically. And it's like, all right. So, I mean, I think riding bikes slowly across the country for anxiety is a great cure. You know, because you kind of simplify your life to the bare minimum of just moving at your own pace, doing whatever you want. So it removes a lot of the anxiety we have in kind of our daily lives.
Yeah. I think that's
personally it's worked wonders, you know.
Really? Yeah. I think that physical exertion, there's just a lot to it. You know, I think I read somewhere, somebody said if you could put all the benefits of exercise into a pill, it would sell like, you know, it'd be the most highly selling medicine ever. Well,
it's funny, like right now, what's really big? Fidget spinners.
Oh yeah, I've seen those things.
And just like moving something. I was like, I have a fidget spinner. It's called bicycle wheels, and I crank pedals and they go, and I like watching them. You know, so it's like, why don't you? I mean, take a run. It's probably a little bit better than just fidgeting a spinner.
Do you have any mentors or heroes? And it could be athletic, artistic, just people that you admire, and they could be alive or dead. You could have met them or not. Yeah,
I mean, I lived in Denver when I was kind of formulating the 14er project, and like I kind of knew I should probably move to Boulder, just because it's kind of it's where the crossroads of cycling, running, or trail running and climbing kind of meet. You know, and I just knew all these like kind of mythical people that live there, like Bill and Roger Briggs. Bill Briggs is a huge one. I met the guy like once, maybe in Chautauqua. He was right. You know,
tell people who he is for people who don't know.
Oh gosh, Bill Briggs is just a local hard man. He and his brother Roger just would put up lines on Longs Peak. Roger Briggs has climbed Longs Peak, I think 100 times, or I'm sorry, the diamond of Longs Peak 100 times. just a kind of a rock climbing innovator, putting up lines and stuff. Bill, it's kind of crazy. Bill is one of the first people I can find that would ride his bike to the trailheads locally and climb the mountains. I think one of his life goals was to do every single mountain in Boulder County that way.
Wow.
So like, yeah, I'm like, whoa, it's kind of a relief when you find someone with a similar passion. And like Bill was it. I was like, wow, that's so rad, And I'll see him randomly, like just like frolicking down Longs Peak. I'm like, hey, dude, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing great. Couldn't be happier. I can't even stop him because he just wants to keep going. So I've read these stories, or Bill Wright, who's also just this local legend, total family man, but like he'll just get at it.
I read his blog.
Yeah.
I've never met him, but he just seems like such an interesting guy.
Yeah. He'll do things like, he's like, well, one day I'm gonna just like this Labor Day weekend, I'm just going to link up all the classic Flatiron formations. Like there's like 142 or whatever. I'm just going to do them. And he'll play down his abilities so hard. He's like, I'm just a guy. I'm just a schlub. And you're like, it's like, no, like you have decades of experience. You can climb hard. I think right now he's climbing El Capitan with his 19-year-old kid,
Really?
Like, yeah, just like, oh, we're just a family vacation. He wanted to do it, like last year they did Denali, like 6 months before that, like his son had never climbed a mountain kind of thing. So
Really?
Yeah, it's just crazy. So it's like, it's this drive the Wright family has, I think. Plus, I mean, like, Boulder was the home of, like, or is the home of, like, people like Anton Kripicka and Joe Grant. And, like, oh, yeah, I totally looked up to those guys. I'm like, wow, like, these guys are going.
Yeah.
These guys are doing stuff. So I'm like, if I train on Green Mountain, what will happen? It's like, well, the same thing. It's kind of like one of those, like, kind of like aura places where like you just kind of get sucked in. You're like, Trailhead is 10 minutes away from my house by bike. I'm like, I'm there, like this is where I'm going to spend my time.
It is a special place.
Yeah.
So you've made an effort to put yourself out there on social media to kind of share these adventures with people.
Okay.
And what is the kind of is there a goal of that? I mean, obviously I think there's the goal of inspiring people to go out and try new things and push their limits. Is there anything else that's less obvious that I'm missing there?
Oh, I mean, I'm just having a lot of fun. And like when you have fun, you want to share it. You're like, look what happened, But I would love for people to kind of experiment with themselves with self-powered transportation. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like I'm a part of a circus freak show when I do these, like, the Centennial Project, the Highest 100 Project, because it's like 2 months on a bike and doing all these mountains. Like it just seems a little otherworldly for most people. But like if someone's like, wow, that's really cool. You know what? I'm going to go on my bike and ride to the liquor store and buy that 6-pack instead of driving the mile. Like, because Justin was out there, he's on Capitol Peak right now. I was like, this bud's for you, Justin. That'd be rad. I would, my underlying message is bikes are really fun.
It shows.
You should ride them.
It shows in all your social media because it comes through the genuine excitement and happiness you have out
there.
Sure. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, they're just smile machines for me. They don't solve all my life problems, but they solve many of them.
Yeah, they're a good tool for that. I could keep asking questions all day, but I want to be respectful of your time. I've got a few questions that I've asked pretty much everybody I've had on the podcast, and so I'd love to hear your answers. It's been interesting to compare and contrast.
Sure.
Are there any favorite books you have that they could be related to the American West or adventure or really art? Any books that have been important to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, when it comes to the American West, I think Edward Abbey is such a approachable figure. Like he's funny, he's sort of a rebel. So like if you want to learn about maybe conservation in the American West, like pick up Desert Solitaire, or like Monkey Wrench Gang, which isn't the best written book, but it's pretty funny in parts.
It is.
I remember like we were driving across country in this beat up van, all spray painted. My friends from Connecticut just randomly came to Boulder. And we're reading the Monkey Wrench Gang. We decided to like visit Las Vegas. We're like, oh, there's a big dam. Like, this is right after 9/11 too. So we're like, let's drive this crazy punk rocked out band across Hoover Dam with the Monkey Wrench Gang, like prominently shown in the front, seat. I'm like, we're going to get arrested. So
yeah, those are both really good.
Probably, yeah.
I recently read a double biography of Edward Abbey and Wallace Stegner. It's called All the Wild That Remains.
Oh, wow.
It kind of compares and contrasts the two guys. It's really good. You might like it. It's really good.
I'll check it out.
Do you have any favorite documentaries?
God.
Or films? Just regular
films? One of my favorite films, and kind of like an inspiration, is this movie. It's a crazy, surrealist, psychedelic movie called The Holy Mountain by Jodorowsky. And like you can watch the trailer and be like, I'm freaked out. That's too much.
What's it about? I've never seen it.
Man, how do we even explain it? Jodorowsky's done a couple films. He has another great film called El Topo, which is kind of like an anti-Western. But The Holy Mountain is about basically these people who have denied their consumerist lives and are looking for transcendence. So they follow this this holy man to the Holy Mountain.
Cool.
So they give up everything, they give up their identity, and then they go for it. But like that's just the framework, right? Like it's just the visuals are just out of control. I mean, it was filmed in 1973, and it's still like that's crazy. That's some nuts stuff. So
cool. I'll check that out. I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
that's exactly why I asked.
Yeah. Again, my best friend in college, I guess he's been a big influence on me. We're totally different people now. It's really strange.
Is he still an artist?
Yeah.
Really? Nice.
He makes enormous portraits.
Does he really?
Wall-sized portraits. But he used to work at a local record store called Black and Red. So he'd get all these interesting records and movies and stuff. And he just got this bootleg of The Holy Mountain. It wasn't released in any other way at that time. Right now, I think you can Netflix it, if not just a DVD. But it was like hard to find. So you get it, and you're like, it's already this like magical possession. You're like, let's watch it. And you're like, this is messed up. Like, it's just a crazy movie.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Are there any activities that you enjoy that would be surprising to people?
Oh gosh, man,
you kind of cover the full spectrum from art to ultra endurance.
I know. I have a lot of little fingers in a lot of different little pots for sure. Yeah, I think once I slow down from this and give my body a break, I'm really looking forward to learning some taiko drumming.
What is that?
Taiko drumming it's basically Japanese martial art drumming. Huh. So it's very theatrical. The drums are like these huge vase-like things made of beautiful hardwood. And just the drum head itself is just this thick slab of like deer hide, basically.
I think I've seen that on TV.
Yeah.
It's like a performance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's choreographed and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Huge sticks, and they yell a lot. And, I've had a little bit of direct I dabbled in it basically, and nice. I really love to like just learn how to do it.
Yeah, I found an article about you online, and there was a quote in there, and you said something like you're not at all scared of being bad at something.
Oh yeah,
you like trying new stuff. Yeah. And I think that's a great attitude to be a beginner.
Yeah, beginner's mind.
Yeah.
So that's another way. I mean, if you're looking for strategies on how to keep going in like 100 miles, just be like, well, I wonder what's under the next crest. Like how do you do this?
Curiosity.
It's just one foot in front of the other. Like it's like teaching a kid to be an artist. It's like you don't have to teach. They're just an artist, right?
Sure.
It's the same thing with running. Like if you ask a kid to run towards you, they'll just run. They're not worried about their form or their breathing or like whatever. They'll just run towards you.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, geez, best advice. Man, there's best advice. One of my artist influences is John Cage. Mm-hmm. He's basically a postmodern composer.
Okay.
So one of his most famous pieces is it's just a piece of silence, and I'm going to get the title wrong, but I think it's called like 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And he'll be at the piano, he'll be ready to play. There might be like an orchestra with him, and he'll just sit there for 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And the idea is it's everything you hear that's not the orchestra or anyone playing. It's the fidgeting in the seats. Yep. It's the people coughing. And that's what makes the piece interesting. It's those little random acts that are happening. Mm-hmm. Like he'll have another piece where it's just a dozen people with radios, and they're just tuning into different stations. So like you can compose, that's the composition, but every time you quote unquote play it, right, it comes out differently. So one of his quotes was just start anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great.
And like, because people ask me, like, where do you begin on this? Where do you start? Like, how do you even get into this? It's like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, how do you start playing the violins? Just get one. Just make a lot of freaking noise. Someone's going to be like, stop that. Look, I'll give you that. I'll show you how to,
I think that's great advice. No matter what you're doing, sports, business, art, just start.
Yeah. No one told, like, I run a business, I guess, but no one told me how to. I was like, I just lost my job. Now I'm going to do it myself. Let's do it, kind of thing. Maybe another piece of advice, or not advice, but kind of a perspective when it comes to kind of like bike packing or lightweight fast packing or backpacking, is that you pack your fears. So if you kind of organizing your gear, you have to look at it and be like, do I need this? Or is it like a security blanket? Can I go without it? What would happen if I go without it? Am I going to be okay? Yeah. And you might say, no, I'll be fine without this. I just like having it. So get rid of it. The simpler you can make your kit, the better, basically.
Yep. That's great advice.
Less is more.
Yeah, you see so many people just at Chautauqua or on 14ers, just decked out with so much gear. It looks like they're going up to Denali or something. And you just think, you want people to be safe, but you just think the experience would be a lot richer and more enjoyable if they weren't carrying all that stuff.
Sure. I mean, for me, speed is safety.
Yeah.
Like if I see angry clouds coming in and they're going to be on top of me in 10 minutes, I can fly. I'm a mile down by that point.
Sure.
Most people can't do that, but yeah, for me, speed is safety. So that means bringing as little as possible. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying don't bring the 10 essentials if you're just getting started, but like you don't have to bring a full tent setup, what you see on Elbert, you're just like, what's going on, man?
No, I'll see that on Grays and Tories, and you'll see, I'll be in shorts and a t-shirt, and you see people in down coats, and it's just kind of like, and they go to REI and they get sold all this stuff, and they think that's what you're supposed to be doing, but the reality is, it's the more experience you get, the more you can pare down, and the more fun it is. Yeah. At least that's my experience. Yeah,
and there's not many shortcuts through experience. You have to make a lot of mistakes.
That is true.
Exactly.
That's very true.
To be like, well, you know what? I don't need this. I can probably go without this, or like, that's what bad weather looks like. So I get into little pickles myself from time to time, but I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I know I'm in a pickle and I know what to do about it. Like,
sure.
Or I guess another piece of advice would be like, it doesn't help to become scared. So if you're in a pickle, like, don't freak out.
Yeah.
Like, assess the situation, take a step back, understand what's going on, make a plan.
Have you ever meditated? Are you a meditator?
I mean, walking meditation. I think running is my meditation time.
You seem to, the way you talk about your brain operating, and you're able to kind of step back and see the whole picture from almost like a third-party perspective. It's as if you're a meditation master.
Okay.
You don't need to meditate.
Oh, yeah.
You're already there.
Doing something like the Everesting of Green Mountain is just an act of self-transcendence.
It is.
For sure. I think, like, when it comes to documentaries, there's a documentary called The Marathon Monks of Mount Heihei or something.
I've heard of those guys, but I didn't know there was a documentary about it.
Oh, yeah. So these guys are incredible. So the idea is you have to run basically 1,000 marathons in 3 years. And if you do, you gain enlightenment by all these, wooey things. But it's just kind of a crazy idea, because that's like, all right, that's basically circumnavigating the world.
Is it true that if you don't, they commit suicide?
Yeah. So yeah. Or you have to, like, if you decide to start, you must finish. Or it's death, basically. So you're all in. Like, that's some major, like, talk about, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this 100-miler. It's like, no, just think of the marathon monks. Like, they're in it for life.
I might keep that in mind this weekend.
Yeah, but no guts, no glory, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's motivation.
Yeah, and they're wearing, like, sandals, and they've got this funky hat on that makes no sense. They have one staff that probably weighs 10 pounds. They're eating rice and tofu. They're monks. They're living a monk lifestyle, so they're like just wasting away from, like, not enough calories and stuff. So Pretty rad.
I didn't know there's. I appreciate you telling me that, because I've heard about those guys, but I didn't know there's a documentary. So I'm gonna check that out.
So I like the idea of slowly moving through the world as a way to gain enlightenment. That's really cool. Like my father was kind of into. He was a marathoner and an ultra marathoner.
Oh, okay.
And he was a little bit into Sri Chamni.
What is that?
He's another kind of holy guy. And his whole thing was he has the self-transcendent race. So it's like 3,000 miles long or something. And it's a one city block that you just continually run around. And like, if you do it, you gain transcendence for
I've heard about that guy as well. I recently read an article about that, but I'd forgotten about it. I'm going to reload that. What's the name again?
Sri Chamni.
Okay. I'll put a link.
Chimnoy, maybe?
I'll figure that. I'll put a link in there.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that kind of transcendent experience, what's the most powerful experience you've ever had in the outdoors? And that could be, I used to say, what's the craziest experience, but I think powerful is maybe more descriptive. It could be scary, crazy, funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. And like, I love having those memories, but I love just being in the moment and having it hit me and just letting it go.
Yeah.
But I can remember like one of the most amazing times on my Tour 14er, and one of the reasons why I want to go back and kind of do something similar is I was up near Lake Como, and that's near Blanca and Little Bear. And the road up there is horrible. It's horrible to ride a bike on. It's even more horrible to try to drive a car or a modified vehicle, as you say. People don't like hiking it, but I was up there, and there was a thunderstorm that was moving west to east across the San Luis Valley. And it would thunder, and I would hear the original thunder hit me. And then you'd hear the echoing from the amphitheater behind me.
Sure.
So it'd be like, and then like a couple seconds later, you go, you're like, that's insane. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is one of the most amazing sound experiences I've ever had, and you're just like, I feel pretty safe here because I'm not going to get hit by lightning, but like things are happening. Like, that's incredible. And that the next day you're going to get a thunderstorm too. So you kind of have that back in your mind. You're like, okay, here's a warning shot, and sure enough, like I did like these 3 peaks. I did Ellingwood, Little Bear, and Blanca, which they're not easy peaks. And as soon as I got done, I'm like, I gotta go, because like I can see the same thunderhead come towards me. And I remember that night I got visited by a bear, and it's like the notorious Lake Como bear. And I don't have a tent; I just have like a tarp. So like it's on the other side of the tarp, and I'm just like, what do I do? I'm like, shine my light really weirdly, and like that'll kill the bear, whatever. Of course, like the next day I come back and he ate all my food and went through my stuff and like ate my wallet, basically. Spit it out, but he ate it. And like, I have no food. I can see this thunderhead coming, and I'm like, I know this is going to happen. So I have to like get all my stuff together and just plow down this Lake Como road, to get to town. So just those kinds of experiences are like, it's on the edge of control, but it's like a good edge of control. Sure. It's like when I guess like if you ski, like you're going as fast as you think you can, and like that's really fun. Or like you're on like a really great piece of single track, and you're like, oh man, if like I just turn the wrong way, I'm off the side of this cliff. But I'm not. I'm totally in control, and I like that feeling. Yeah. So
in the flow.
Flow state for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Last of the quick questions, and it's a hard one. Yeah, quick.
Nothing I do is quick, my friend.
Do you have a favorite location in the West?
Yeah, I think my favorite location is probably Longs Peak, the East Longs Peak Trailhead. I've just spent tons of time there, and it's just an intimate place for me. It's not something that I only have. It's something that's shared by thousands upon thousands of visitors. So that's cool. Like you start in the same trailhead, and like I immediately go off, to some strange, trail that no one really knows about. It's like the old telegraph line. They go straight up the mountain. It's like, I'm just going to take this. It's the one you see the rangers take. So you like, hey Bert, how's it going? They know you by name by this point. They're just like, whatever. And like, as soon as you're above tree line, and if you're not on the main trail, like you could be in Pluto, it's so crazy, and just do your own little route. So that mountain is it's nuts. It's totally unique from all the mountains. Yeah.
And everything.
So I never get bored of that mountain. My goodness, there's so much more for me to do. It's just a constant teacher for sure.
Sure.
Like as advice, if anyone wants to do this, like just focus on Long's Peak, and like it'll teach you everything you want to know for any single mountain in Colorado. Like I think the funny, I forget who it is, but there's some mountaineers, and they're on Long's Peak, and people are like, they were in Patagonia, I think, trying like some crazy mountain there. And people are like, what are you doing? What route are you doing? They're like, oh, we're trained for Long's Peak, Just because the weather at Long's Peak can be really horrible, just like it can be in Patagonia. So,
yeah, that's a good one. I think what you said is right. Any mountain you want to do in Colorado, you can train for it on Long's.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. The only thing Long's Peak doesn't have is horribly loose talus that you can't avoid, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of nice that things are kind of solid there.
Sure. So
merely a student on that mountain for sure.
That's a good feeling. If you could make a request of the people listening to this, and when I say request, I mean if you want to ask them, to ride their bike more, or if you have any words of wisdom or words of advice, just something you'd like to impart to the people listening to this, who are basically people who love the American West in one way or another. Sure. What would that be?
Slow down. It seems like the more west you get until you hit California, the slower life gets. So
that's a good point. Yeah,
I think that's a good thing rather than a bad thing. I mean, from being from Connecticut, it's a mentality of like, give me my latte and get me get out of my way kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's been nice to I live a very slow tortoise-like existence when I want to, and I just enjoy that. So yeah,
that's great.
Slow down. Take just look around, enjoy the moment.
I don't think you can beat that. So how can people follow you on the upcoming adventure?
I have a website. Just go to highest100.com, and it'll have kind of the plan, what I attempt to do. I have a blog I'm updated for right now. It's mostly reconning, a little bit of gear selection, things like that. Of course, a page for all the people who are helping me, all the companies, things like that. Once I start, there'll be a tracker. I'll have a spot on me, which will kind of record my position and put it on a map. And that'll be on that site as well. And then I'll be posting on things like Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram, you can find me at Long, Long, Ranger Justin. And just look for my name, basically, on Google. You can just Google Long Ranger with a G, and you'll find me.
Nice. And I'll have
big bearded guy on a bike. It's got to be me.
I'll have links to everything so people can find you. Well, good luck, man. I'm excited to watch it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's in a month. It'll be pretty good. It's kind of crunch time. I have all this like very specific gear I still have to purchase. I was like, what am I gonna ride?
Just this details.
I might get into the same ones this time. Oh, make it up.
Hey, it's Ed again. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, and thanks for listening to that particular episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Before you go, I've got 3 quick things. Number 1, if you like the podcast, please do me a huge favor. Either pass it along to a friend who may be interested, share it on your social media, or go to iTunes and give it a 5-star review. All those things would mean a lot to me, and they would really help to spread the word about the podcast. Number 2, if you've listened to many of these episodes, you know that I love reading and I love talking about books. Every other month, I send out a quick email with a few books that I've recently read and highly recommend. The subjects are varied, but they're pretty much all nonfiction with an emphasis on history, biographies, adventure narratives, and topics related to the American West. There are no sales pitches for ranches, no spam, no other kind of nonsense, just books. So if you'd like to sign up for the list, head to Mountain and Prairie/reading, or just go to Mountain and Prairie and there's a massive tab at the top that says book recommendations. Click on it. There are a ton of good books that I've read. Some of the old email lists are on there. You can go crazy. There are a lot of books. And finally, if you know anyone I should interview for the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. All my contact info is at mountainandprairie.com, and I'm on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to have some recommendations and suggestions of interesting people I should meet. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.